Welcome to That Digital Take. I'm your host, Torri Webster. Welcome back to the pod. I am high on cold medicine today, and I have been lounging in bed for the past 7 days watching Welcome to Wrexham. We have to chat about this because my mom had been hyping up this show to me for what felt like 6 months. And finally, I came down with a wicked cold when I got back from Greece, and I was taken out. I'm like, I need a new show. I need to start something from the very beginning. And I started Welcome to Wrexham, and I need to put you girlies on this show because I don't know if you're into football, soccer for our North American folks, but this show is so heartfelt. It's so lovely. And I'm now already on season 2. I zoomed through all of season 1. Ryan Reynolds, my absolute king. And yeah, I just have to highly recommend this show if you're looking for something to binge watch and if you're looking to get into the football spirit, because it's really heartwarming and really fun to watch. So that's how I'm kicking off the show today. So let's go backwards. Before I was ill in bed, I was in Santorini. I was in Santorini for my best friend's wedding last week. It was the most gorgeous wedding ever. This was the wedding of the century. It felt like the royal wedding. It was so stunning. Every detail was iconic. However, getting to Santorini, not for the faint of heart, okay? This was a travel day from hell. I took off from Toronto. I almost missed my flight in Toronto because I was self-tanning. You heard that right. I was home self-tanning, and I nearly missed my flight because I had to shower it off. I didn't want to look like an Oompa Loompa in Pearson Airport, and I truly made my flight by 10 minutes. I showered. I ended up in the worst traffic ever. I somehow made it to Pearson. I make it on this flight. Now, here's the truth of the matter. I was sitting in row 1A, and all of my friends and my boyfriend were sitting in row 56B. That's just the way it rolls, kids. And I was like, I'm not going to wait for you guys when I get off the flight because we were trying to make this connecting flight to Santorini when we landed in Athens. But then I got to Athens and I felt bad because if I got too far ahead of them and I got my bags and then they for some reason didn't make the flight, then I would leave them all in Athens and that would be really shit. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to roll with the punches. I'm going to wait for them and be a kind person. So I get off the flight and it's one of those massive Airbuses. So there's probably 500 people on this plane. I'm waiting for them at the exit of the airplane. 500 people go by me. They're literally the last souls to exit the plane. I'm like, how did you guys even survive this 10-hour flight at the back of the bus? I truly don't know. So these hooligans come rolling off the plane. They're like, oh my God, hey. It's like 5 a.m. Athens time. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. We're all so jet lagged. We go running around the corner. We have less than an hour to make this connecting flight to Santorini. We roll around and the 500 people that got off the plane ahead of us are now in this backlog trying to get through customs. I'm like, we're never going to make this flight. Like, we are literally going to be stuck in Athens for the night, which would not have been the worst case ever, but we had our Airbnb set up in Santorini. You know how it is, like with travel, you kind of have to go with the flow, but at the same time, you're trying to prevent too many issues. I also overpack like it's my job. So I had 5 luggage. Like, it was just so chaotic. So we somehow weave our way through this 2-hour customs line, not joking. And we get to the end. I'm like, okay, we have 10 minutes before the baggage claim closes to make our flight to Santorini. Now, this was not a true connecting flight, so we had to get our luggage from the baggage claim and then go recheck into this new, I guess it was Sky Express, one of those really random like European airline flights, Sky Express flight. So we're like, okay, game time, let's run, let's grab our bags, let's go check in. So it's my 2 best friends, my boyfriend and I. We run, we grab our bags. This is like where the amazing race begins. We get up to the check-in area. We're kind of chaotic, right? We know we have 5 minutes to kind of get our bags in before we miss the cutoff time. I'm like, hey, we're trying to get to Santorini. We have this connecting flight. She's like, okay, like throw me your passports. So we throw our passports to her. And my boyfriend and I assumed we would check in together. We were not under the same reservation because, a quick aside, many, many years ago, my boyfriend and I have been together for 10 years nearly. I used to always book our flights together. That was kind of just the name of the game. I didn't trust him because I was the more organized person and I'm the more A-type. So I would always book our flights under the same reservations. But as time has gone on, you know, our jobs kind of take us all over the place, and I started to encourage him to book his own flights because I'm like, look, if you're going to have to fly somewhere for work after, make sure you book your flex flights, make sure you get it all organized. So anyways, we did not book our flights to Greece together. We get to the counter. I hand her both our passports. She's like, okay, Torri, put your baggage up. All good. Of course, my bags are overweight. They charged me 80 euros. Hear me now. 80 euros in overweight fees. That's like nearly 150 Canadian dollars. I was flabbergasted, but at that point, I only had 10 minutes to make the flight. So I'm like, ma'am, here's my wallet. No worries. Then she says, oh, Adam, I don't see your reservation. And obviously my friends and I are doing like the slow cartoon turn to him like, sir. She says, what's your reservation number? I don't see you here. We have no customer under this name. He starts to look into his emails. Oh, yeah, I didn't book this flight. Great. So now we have a player who doesn't even have a seat on this airplane. And I say, ma'am, what can you do for us? I know you only have 10 minutes, but is there any chance you can get him on this flight? We got to get to Santorini. We have a wedding. You know, it's all this chaos. She says, yeah, I can get you on this flight, but it'll be 300 euros. Okay. So we get absolutely rinsed at the Sky Express check-in, and we paid cash like the old times. I'm like, here's $80 for the luggage. Here's 300 euros to get him on the damn plane. Like, honestly, worst case scenario, but at least we were getting on this flight. So she was nice enough. She put us through. His bag was overweight. She didn't make him pay. Okay. She was okay in the end. She got us on the airplane. We go running through the airport. One of my other friends has a sprained ankle. So you can imagine just the absolute sheer pain she's in, sprinting through the airport trying to get to this check-in gate. We finally get to the gate. We get on the flight. We're like, okay, we made it. We're making it to Santorini, all good. And then when we're landing in Santorini, it is the windiest flight I have ever been on in my entire life. And we land, so you're kind of like cliffside coming into the island. And it's kind of famous for this. Like Santorini is famous for this. But, and so is Mykonos. When I landed in Mykonos last year, it was the same thing. But this year it was even crazier because when we landed sideways on two wheels of the plane. Could have been a near-death experience, but we did level out and we landed safely somehow. In some of those moments, I mean, I'm not a fearful flyer, so I just kind of sit there and laugh. But like, you can just imagine the people that have plane anxiety or don't want to be on a small like propeller airplane, oceanside or seaside, because it was not for the faint of heart, but we made it to Santorini. So all that to say, the trip started truly chaotically, but when we landed, it then became quite a peaceful week. So this is kind of where the shift began, because we get there and everyone kind of feels like they're on vacation now. It feels like summer camp. There's 80 people attending this wedding and everyone's kind of getting to know each other. You know, you've got the friend crew, the family crew, kind of the older parents crew, like everyone's intermingling and having just the absolute best time. And then here's me not being able to chill the fuck out. I have this problem where now I'm so hyper obsessed with working and creating content when I'm on trips, due to my experience with press trips, that when I go on personal vacation, I literally cannot turn it off. So the first couple of days, we're staying at this beautiful resort. We're cliffside. It's so stunning. And everyone's drinking, you know, their Aperol spritzes and just having the best time. And I cannot relax for the life of me. I feel almost like anxious the entire first couple of days, but it's not the anxiety of, oh, I have uncontrollable anxiety. Like I luckily don't suffer from anxiety. Like that's not a typical feeling that necessarily enters my orbit. But it was just this overwhelming feeling that I could not be there and just enjoy myself. I'm so used to living by an itinerary when I'm on trips. Like normally when we're on press trips, you know, it's 8 a.m. and you're up and you're at 'em and you have to shoot here and you have to edit here and you have to turn around content here. So I can't even remember the last time I kind of took just a true personal vacation. So this was putting it all to the test. And turns out I could not conquer it. I only finally tuned into actual vacation probably by the rehearsal dinner night, which I'm really grateful for because I really wanted to enjoy my time there and I wanted to embrace it. And my best friend and I did our speech the night of the rehearsal dinner, and I decided not to drink. I just wanted to like chill out and kind of try to embrace the moment. So that is what I did. So finally by the rehearsal dinner, I was able to be present and in the moment and not focused on work and not worrying about the time change and the emails and being a million miles from home. And I just kind of said, you know what? This too shall pass, and I just need to have the best time possible. So finally, by the time the wedding day came about, I really, really just said, I'm shutting off my phone. I'm going to enjoy my best friend. I'm going to make sure she has the best day possible. And it turned out to be the most magical day ever. The weather was perfect. There was jokes going around that Walt Disney designed the sky that night because the sunset lasted what felt like 6 hours. It was truly a perfect, beautiful evening. Now, this is kind of what brought up what I will now jump into the topic of the week, which is, when do you decide to create content? And when do you decide to just simply enjoy the moment? So this wedding brought up, obviously, all of these feelings of, do I have to be creating content? Why am I feeling anxious when I'm not online? Do I have to be updating my audience even though I'm on a personal vacation? And it's interesting because I feel like when I started in this industry, I leveraged a lot of those kind of iconic moments for content. And that was just the reality of where I was. Maybe it was an age thing, but maybe it also was just where I was at in my career. I felt like I couldn't separate myself from those moments and just enjoy them personally, because ultimately I felt like it was an awesome opportunity for storytelling. I'm not saying that this is right. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying this has been my experience. So for example, I had this kind of chaotic and stressful birthday maybe 6 or 7 years ago, where I kind of leveraged my birthday as a work opportunity. And I said, okay, I'm going to work with a brand and kind of leverage this brand to kind of pay for the birthday, pay for the experience, and I'll create content in exchange. And I felt like I was doing everybody a favor because I was like, okay, everyone's going to get free drinks. Everyone's going to get an awesome night on the town. Nobody has to pay for anything. And I'm just going to offset it by basically turning it into work. And that birthday turned into an absolute nightmare. And I ended up having a full-on mentee bee, quarter life crisis at the ripe age of, I guess it was my 18th or 19th birthday. And I realized in that moment it wasn't sustainable. And that was the one moment where I decided to shift that part of my life, but only related to my birthday. So then my birthday moving forward became Torchella, which some of my audience may know about. Torchella was born out of my workaholic tendencies because my boyfriend and best friends the following year after the mentee bee year, they were like, you're not working. We're taking you to a cottage. We're going to surprise you. And they ended up surprising me, with what is now known as Torchella, which was founded by my boyfriend and my best friends in hopes of having me relax and truly go offline for my birthday. That's how it started, okay, 6 years ago. Clearly, I have a really hard time finding a balance between work and play because now, cut to last year, I had brands involved again. We were in Miami. It was all next level. I spent my life savings at the strip club. Like, I clearly have no balance. But all that to say, I've been struggling with this idea of how do we leverage moments for content and how do we just go offline and find peace with that those moments will not be leveraged for the audience. The wedding obviously brought up all of those feelings because I'm someone that is constantly thinking about the angle, which again, I'm not saying is the right thing. I'm just being honest with you. I'm thinking about, oh, this is an amazing moment for this TikTok that's trending with this Taylor Swift song. Like, this is literally what goes through my head. And I think other content creators can really relate to this because it's so hard to shut it off when you feel like, wow, this aesthetic, beautiful Santorini wedding can be turned into such an iconic TikTok moment. But ultimately, is that really important at this time? And the truth of the matter is, it depends on who you're with. And I really do think that that's the truth. When I'm on press trips, I'm constantly surrounded by content creators. So that means that content creators are looking at the scene saying, yeah, I'm going to make a TikTok. Yeah, I'm going to make a reel. I'm going to recap this whole event. I'm going to make a vlog. I'm going to show my outfit. I'm going to do all of this content. But in Greece, I was surrounded by my best friends that obviously use social media, but literally don't care about creating content at the highest level. And that is a challenge because I don't want to come across like I'm not in the moment. And my friends always kind of joke, like this is kind of an aside, but my friends joke that I go to Narnia often. And if I'm honest with myself, I think me going to Narnia is me not being able to get out of my own head when it comes to my work versus my play. Like they'll say things and I'm just kind of somewhere else. And they know that they have to kind of like really snap me out to get me to pay attention to what is happening in the real world in front of me. And again, I don't know if this is a learned sport, something I've taken up over time as a content creator, or if this is just a personality thing. If you're a content creator, I'd love to see in the comments if this is something you relate with, because I'm sure I'm not alone. Like these are not feelings that just one person experiences. So anyways, all that to say, they're just really regular, normal people, and they're not looking to create content on a wedding day. They're looking to embrace the moment, drink mimosas, say beautiful speeches to one another and hug each other and truly be in the spirit of the wedding. So that day, I did do just that. I embraced it. I didn't worry about content. I just had the best time. Obviously, we got some epic photos out of it, but I didn't create a single TikTok. I didn't, put anyone under pressure to do that. And that's the other part of it, right? Like there's been scenarios like bachelorettes, like birthdays, where I have had to put other people out to get that moment captured. I was at a wedding last summer where I said to the bride, hey, do you mind if I film your first look? Because at the time, like that really iconic TikTok was trending. It was like, I'm falling for you. And just like that, that whole TikTok. I was like, okay, so we have to film that. And she was so understanding and she let me film it. And yeah, it was great for social and it was fabulous. But then I sit there now a year later and I'm like, am I taking advantage of the moment? Like this is somebody else's special day. I don't want to put out the bride. I don't want to put out the groom. I don't want to, even on the day in Santorini, I had my tripod out and I was filming content, but they had a videographer filming and he kept moving my camera because it was like in his frame. And I'm like, yeah, there comes a point where I just have to let the professionals do their job and I just have to remove myself, whether or not I want that iPhone footage or not. So, this has happened in many circumstances where I've had to put myself on the line to what I felt like bring people a better experience. But now I'm trying to challenge that and see if that's actually real. An example would be a bachelorette party. There's been bachelorettes where I've been able to get everyone sponsored goodie bags and like all of these fabulous access to events or whatever it might be. And I think I'm doing them a favor, but at the end of the day, I don't know if that actually feels like it's putting people out. Do they want to show up in content? Do they want to actually be in a TikTok video that's going to go out to thousands of people? Like these are, again, just questions that I don't have the answers to, but I do want to put them out there and sort of challenge them because though I'm comfortable putting myself on the internet every single day, that does not mean that the people in my life should have to feel like they are included in that. So I am trying to find a balance and figure out, where is the mind of content creator and where is the mind of just friend, daughter, sister, Torri, And I think because I've gotten so used to this crossover of, oh, I'm going to go to Coachella and yeah, I'm going to have a blast, but I'm also going to create branded content, paid content, whatever it might be. I've come up with what I feel is a comfortable veil of what is me and what is creator. But then now I'm starting to almost realize how much it's one and the same. And am I able to turn that off? Am I able to comfortably sit in a really iconic day and say, you're not allowed to create any content? And what does that do to me? Does that give me anxiety? Does that make me excited? It definitely didn't make me feel relaxed. I can tell you that much. But again, maybe that's just where I'm at in my journey. I think that creators that have been doing this for a long time, like if you look at the OG bloggers, like the Ami Songs, the, whoever, the people that have been creating content for a million years, I think they're at the place where they're like, we don't give a shit. We can have a wedding and we cannot create content. We can have a birthday and we cannot create content. But I do feel like people that are newer to this game, Gen Z especially, they famously love to exploit their personal lives for content. That's truly the reality. And honestly, I think TikTok has made us all do that more. It's made us look at ourselves and say, if we're not honest about our deepest, darkest secrets, and we're not putting ourselves out there to the nth degree, we're not going to go viral. I think that's honestly what people think. And we've seen it time and time again. Like we look at people like Alex Earl. She sits there and gives her honest reviews about her insane party nights out. And we like that. We sit there and we applaud that. But at what point do we say, wow, we've really blurred the lines between personal and basically professional? Because I've said this to you guys, but ultimately this is a job at the end of the day. This is work. And most jobs, you finish at 5 p.m. and you can walk away from it. So what about this job where you feel like the internet never stops, the flow never stops? You could technically be creating content every single day and be putting out original content every single day. And unless you tell yourself, no, it's time to pull back, no, I need to create better boundaries, why would you ever stop? And that's kind of where I'm at now in the journey is, how can I get to a place where, hey, I've worked really hard to be where I'm at. I don't need to be posting content every single day. I can create some new boundaries and figure out how I feel most comfortable presenting myself in the space and enjoy those really, again, in quotes, iconic moments without completely exploiting myself and exploiting my friends. There is such a fine line though, because I'm like, I want to remember these days. I want content. I want vlogs. I want the whole nine. I mean, again, such an aside, but the videographer that they hired for the day of the wedding was actually a documentary filmmaker, which I was like, this is so iconic. So he kind of went through the whole day capturing really raw moments of people practicing their speeches, moments of bridesmaids hugging the bride, like all of these really just gentle moments that honestly a vlog could never, because when people feel a camera on them, they automatically kind of, you come alive a little bit. You have a different jolt of energy than if you were just a fly on the wall. So I really liked his strategy and I really liked the way that he captured the day. And I'm really curious to see what content comes out of that, because I feel those are actually going to be the important moments to relive, not the ones that feel super curated and set to the new Taylor Swift song to get a viral TikTok. So again, I'm challenging my own kind of thinking here, because I have come from 10 years of basically exploiting birthdays, exploiting bachelorettes, exploiting my friends at weddings for content. And so I kind of want to look at it from a different lens. And I am curious about two perspectives, really. There's the audience perspective, which is, I think people like to see the behind the scenes. I got a lot of DMs when we were in Santorini of people saying, oh my God, this wedding looks iconic. It looks so fabulous. And I know people like to see that. So that's almost where I do feel bad if I pull back, because I know that at the end of the day, people are pulling ideas and pulling inspiration for their big day, or even just finding, interest in a Pinterest board and being like, I want to save that for when I get married or whatever it might be. So anyways, all of that to say, a very interesting and challenging trip because I think it brought up a lot of different emotions of whether or not I have actually found a healthy balance when it comes to content and my professional job as a content creator, and then just me personally surviving in this world without an iPhone on at all times. And yeah, so that's kind of the topic of the week. And unfortunately, I don't have all the answers for you, because I think this will be a different and unique take for every single creator. I think some people are better at turning it off. I'm sure the A-type in me is just challenged because I see everything as an opportunity. And also I see everything as brand integration, which again, I'm not saying is a positive. It's just the way that I've brought my business to life over the last 10 years. So I will be challenging myself moving forward through the big moments. I have not planned Torchella yet this year, so I don't know if I'll be putting myself on the line or creating content on that end. But I will be kind of moving forward with this new air of caution when it comes to celebrating these big milestones. And I'm so grateful to my friends for always embracing me and this very unique job. You have to have people around you that get what you do and that understand it. And luckily, actually, the groom of the wedding that I was at, he's a YouTuber. So if anything, he gets it more than anyone. He was vlogging. He had his camera out. He's like, can I expense this wedding? I think the answer may have been yes, but that's the problem, right? Like when you have a job that is so intertwined in your personality, it can be really hard to draw boundaries that feel normal. And this is not a normal job, and that's just the reality. So anyways, I've gone quite off script today and very kind of a random jambling of emotions, but hopefully this kind of resonates with someone or even someone that wants to get into the industry and understanding that, you know, before you get into this, you need to understand where your boundaries are, where the boundaries are of those around you, and how are you going to leverage those relationships. I have a few circumstances and people in my life that have leveraged relationships to the nth degree, and it's almost gotten them in trouble and almost ruined relationships around them. Marriages literally have been broken up because of the stress of social media and kind of putting each other in places where they're only using each other for content and not because they love each other. And friendships, because you guys are trending online and you leverage your friendship to show up together. So again, I just want to err on the side of caution for people getting into the industry. And I want to bring up this question for people that are already in the industry. How do you feel about the way that you show up online? Are you exploiting your relationships? Are you, which again, I'm saying that I have, so don't worry, like I'm there with you. And I think that this is very normal when we are showing up personally. Like my brand is my personal self. So it's really hard to get away from that. But anyways, very long-winded. All that to say, Greece was fabulous. The trip really was great in the end. I was able to shut it off. I was able to enjoy it. We ended up in Dublin because it was cheaper to fly back from Ireland. We went to the Jameson factory, the Guinness factory, and I was really able to kind of shut it off. And I didn't even update my stories. I didn't even go there. So I feel good about that one step in that direction. Of maybe cleansing myself from feeling that I'm responsible for posting everything on the internet. And I hope that on my next trip, I'm able to kind of put that into practice at a higher level. And then the challenge becomes my next trip might be a press trip, and I'm going to have to kind of delete all that way of thinking and then go back to creating content full steam. So it really is kind of challenging and a balance, but I think it's cool to chat with you while I work through these things versus just acting like everything is perfect and that being an influencer is the most like seamless job ever, because the truth is it does weave into your personal life. It does play a role into your relationships. And I think that that's something that not enough people talk about. So that's what I wanted to bring to life today. I love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.